Everybody, thank you so much for joining me again for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I am excited to have a great guest that I have connected with on Clubhouse, and we are going to be getting into some great conversation. But first, I want to take a few minutes to wish everyone happy St. Patrick's Day, and we'll be back right after this. All right. Don't you just love technology? Well, that was just the quietest little promo I have ever seen. But that's just how technology does. You have to just keep it moving regardless of what comes up sometimes. I definitely can attest to that being a mother of 15 children. So I am so excited about my guests who I have. I have Tumo here. We have had the pleasure of connecting on Clubhouse. LinkedIn is his jam. And so I'm excited to get into some great conversation with Tumo. This is actually our first time seeing each other in a live virtual format. We normally just hear each other on this audio app of Clubhouse. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Tumo. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Michelle, how you going? Fantastic to be here, and I love the little introduction there, and obviously the big smile and the hat. So I feel warm and welcomed. So thank you so much for doing
Oh,
this.
well, I am so excited. So tell everybody a little bit about you. What do you want to share with us today before we get into some good juicy topics of socio audio and just a number of things about coaching. But before we do all that, just let us know a little bit about you.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So it's first of all, as I mentioned, it's a great honor to be here because I'm usually on your seat. So I'm interviewing a lot of people for either for my podcast or LinkedIn Lives and so on and so forth. And I'm really yeah, really happy to be on this seat. So just a couple of quick words about me. Obviously LinkedIn is my space, and there's a more profile and you know more about me, if you will, what I stand and what I value. But I originally started my sort of track in the world 2001 from Finland.
Mm.
It's funny, I just wrote about it a little bit to a magazine article that I'm publishing, and I kind of connected back with my journey a little bit. And it really started in 2001 when I left. I was sort of, young 20-year-old, and I said bye bye to my mom, and I said I'm going to be out for 6 months, and I left to sort of discover Europe a little bit. And that
Mm.
6 months turned out to be 15 years on the road. That was about 40 plus countries. And, I lived, not just visited, but actually lived in 8 to 9 different countries. So I have a very vast understanding, sort of cultural experiences from South and Central America to Southeast Asia to obviously Europe and, South Pacific and North America as well a lot. So that's kind of maybe the biggest pool where I take my sort of understanding of life at large, if you will,
Mm.
understanding different cultures and people and their habits and what they do and what nowadays what drives human performance. That's my current focus for the last 2 to 3 years is helping high achievers and performers to optimize their lifestyle, because
I
that's
love it.
that's that's what I'm at core, designing better habits and systems to design a lifestyle that then truly brings happiness and fulfillment as byproducts. So that's in a
I
nutshell
love
what I'm
that.
what I'm all about.
I love that. Now, so you mentioned that you did this at 20. So to me, I just hear a lot of courage behind that because, that's not the norm of what most 20-year-olds would be doing is traveling around the world. And did you do this by yourself? Did you have a friend group or what?
Yeah, so I suppose it's a little bit to do also with our social upbringing, like Scandinavian country. We kind of kicked out of the house already when we were like 16, 17, and kind of my mom was like, okay, I think it's for you time to go and try life on your own in a way, and that was great. So
Mm,
I've moved out of home. I think I was 16, but within the same city still. So I started living by myself with a friend of mine, and kind of those kind of things. And then yeah, to be honest, I was like, I sometimes thought about like why did I start traveling? And I think like it was my first girlfriend who left. She
mm,
left studying to US, and I'm like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. So then I didn't follow her, but I followed my own footsteps, and
mm,
then and as I'm the only child of a single mother, so I'm always been very comfortable with myself and by myself,
mhm,
and that was kind of a two-edged sword as well, especially traveling, because I was so comfortable with myself that it was maybe hard to develop those deeper relationships, and
mm,
it went into the point that it was almost easier to stay on the road and keep traveling and keep moving instead of settling down and finding partners and finding
mm.
relationships that had any kind of depth, if you will.
I
So
see.
as good as it was, and as fulfilling it was very much time in solitude, sort of figuring out what I want out of life and who I am, and climbing the mountains to the summits by myself and things like that. And as I mentioned, as rewarding as it was, there was a pieces that were missing as well, so the
Mhm.
puzzle wasn't complete, if you will. So
Yeah, I was an only child too, and it
oh
sounds
really?
like I
No
I
way.
went in a totally different direction, right? I
Wow.
had 15 kids because I was by myself,
Right.
um, but there's a similarity with the high performing, um,
100%.
so that I think that's really intriguing because I kinda had the same situation where it's about, I followed this roadmap that I thought was gonna net me what I wanted in life,
Hmm.
and my reality was so much different than what I had built my life on that
Hmm.
I just didn't I went through an identity crisis because I didn't know where to go from there.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, I'm following this American dream, but this is not my reality. So now what do I do? Because my whole life was built on that framework. So, do you think it's something with being an only child when it comes to high performance or what?
Um, I think, well, there possibly something there, but I think at least in my world or in my situation, it comes from the people around me, sort of the friendships that I had back home, and it was
Mhm,
the town that I grew up was very competitive. It was very sort of sports town. Everybody was doing
mhm,
sports, and all the people, like every single person that I knew, all my friends, including relatives, everybody was in either ice hockey, football, basketball. Everybody was doing something. So it was I had no other way. Like that was the
mhm,
part of our lifestyle there. So
mhm,
that's always been with me. That competitiveness, sort of performance, sort of, and now the competitiveness, if you will, is not so much external anymore. I don't. I
mhm,
mean, I love competing, but I don't have
mhm,
that attachment to it anymore, as in when it comes to results and outcomes. I love the win and I hate to lose for sure, but there's
mhm,
there's a lot less attachment to it. And now it's obviously now more through coaching is more about personal development and personal growth, and how can I be a better person tomorrow? How can I be a better partner? How can I be a better father tomorrow? And
mhm.
sort of these kind of grandeur elements and subjects, if you will, and instead of
Yeah,
just the sort of the if we lost or won the game, you know.
right. I mean, I totally resonate with that because, what it showed me was what I couldn't and could control.
Hmm.
So, my life being an only child and my performance, I always took credit in, you know? And so it really made it hard for me to learn how to collaborate with people because I was afraid that, oh, are they going to try to take credit for my work? Or,
Hmm.
there's only so many people that are good. And, I got to beat this person out. I mean, I was very competitive, but
Right.
once I learned to let go of the outcomes and not be so married to them, that's when I was able to really open up and start collaborating with other people and, really working on what I could and couldn't control. Like, this video that just I just played that had no sound, right?
Right.
and being okay, because there would have been a time that I've been like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe this, stressed out for the whole video.
Mhm.
I mean, the whole interview.
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, there's a lot you said there, and I love it. And like for me, I think again, what was the probably the biggest sort of saving graces, if you will, was the team sports. So I played
Mm-hmm.
tennis a little bit, which was the individual sport.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do that well in it for a reason or two, but playing football and basketball and those team sports, I think that's where I understood the power of team. Now, in a
Mm-hmm.
hindsight, I understood what losing and winning as a team means.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, when I'm encountering problems or challenges or issues, being in relationships or workplaces and so on and so forth, it's a lot easier then to relate to through the sports.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really understood that when I was a kid, but it's a really, I think, important learning ground, that athletics or the sports can offer to a lot of children, especially when you can
Mm-hmm.
relate to those wins and losses and growth opportunities to real life, because that's what it's all about. And the other thing over there, just to kind of uh, what sports offers you, is that sort of instantaneous feedback,
Mm-hmm.
which in real life, that's not always the case. Sometimes that's the case for sure, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the times the feedback or the results, they're a lot more delayed, and you don't see them, especially in business, as we know.
Mm-hmm.
We might be doing something, but we don't see the results or the outcome, the feedback, until we're going to ask for it. um,
Mm-hmm.
and but that's what the sports taught me a lot of dealing with mistakes and injuries and faults and mistakes and so on and so forth, and
Love that.
really set me on that path of growth, on the growth path, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Now, so how do you get people to trust you? Because when we think about coaching, you know,
Mm,
a lot of it, a lot of people not even have the right idea of coaching. They think, hey, you know what, this formula is just going to work for me and I'm going to follow this person's roadmap. But really, we find that it is, really nurturing whatever gift or uh, knowing that a person has, and creating space for them to feel confident to express that
mhm.
or whatever. But how do you get people to trust you to, you know, because they see coaches being successful, but sometimes there's that element of wanting to hide some of their flaws. But how do you get them to open up with that?
Yeah, that's a deep one, and I thought about that many times, especially now this rise of social media and these connections
Mhm.
and building relationships, and I kind of it dawned on me, and I mentioned, you know I have a son right now. He's 2 years old, and I'm looking at him growing up, and finding starting to walk and finding his foot in the world and starting to kind of
Mhm.
trust on us. And then I
Mhm.
just realized, like, they're actually born, and you have 15 of your own, so maybe
Mhm.
you have a different view on this, possibly the same, but at least my view on this after having the first one was that they're born with already a full trust on us. Like, we can
Mhm.
only lose that trust, right? We don't really have to, as a parent, at least I feel that I don't really have to do much about it. I can only lose the trust. And whereas
Mm.
now, when we look at the business side of things and social media, as you asked from me, and it's a valid question, we have to actually earn that trust. A lot of, and I've used the same terminology many times. We have to earn
Mhm.
the trust. But
Mhm.
what if we actually build, like, what is if our system is built other way around? What if we already trust people and you can only lose it by doing something
Mm.
wrong?
Mhm.
And is that when we kind of, throughout our lives and throughout our upbringing and programming and experiences in the world, we kind of lose that trust to the world and to the other people, but we
Mhm.
actually inherently have that already kind of programmed within us.
Mhm.
And so
I love
that's
that.
yeah, that's kind of the first thing that I don't know if there's a right answer to that. And
Mhm.
then the answer to your question in my world, I suppose, in the sort of coaching perspective, would be that one of the things that I say to pretty much to everyone, even if it's someone who's not an ideal client, or if we're having a conversation, is like, for me, um, possibly outside of very, very high performance and outside of sort of top athletes, not many people actually need coaches. Is coaches is something that you want to have. And
Mm,
my role as a coach or a guide, if you will, is to make myself not needed.
mm,
Which means that if we, let's say that we work together for 3 months or 6 months, in the end of the journey, I want to be able to give the person the tools and strategies and techniques,
mhm,
or even better for him or her to find those tools and strategies within him or herself, to be
mhm.
able to then equip that person that he or she is ready to run and ready to fly on their own. And
So true.
and that,
Totally agree with that.
yeah, and I think there's definitely a lot of coaches, and to be very honest, that's not a very good business model. Like if
Mhm,
there's no continuity, it's not good for business. But it's
mhm.
also, I don't feel genuine and honest if I say like, okay, now we worked 3 months together and you've done a lot, yet I have this other program, this other thing, and
Exactly.
and then I see this other problem that you have, and by the way, I have a solution for that problem as well.
So
But
true.
that's how the business works. But you know,
You and I are a lot alike because I am totally the same way. Because I think, and also it really makes more work for you.
yeah,
Because if you have a program, then you're customizing it for every individual. I mean, that's just more work. And I think it's also where if you're clear about what you deliver, I think for myself, I'm always about the jump start setting the foundation, you
mm,
know, getting you introduced to the idea of recognizing it's okay to look at yourself in the mirror and highlight the things that you're not good at and take that journey, that first step to working on transforming that. But that's a lifelong process. I think if
exactly.
we're coaching people correctly, as you said, you can give them the tools and they can continue that on their own.
Now, saying that, and then obviously, as you and me, we both know, then the, everybody's journey is different, and everybody's needs are different, everybody's
Mhm.
wants are different, and that's the kind of the foundation where I start from. And then there
Mhm.
are obviously people that have, you can obviously from the sports world, but same thing in the business world, and you know, some people, they have 4 or 5 different coaches. They have,
Mhm.
relationship coach, a business coach, and so on and so forth. And because they
Mhm.
require and they want and they crave that growth, uh,
Mhm.
almost on daily basis. And by
Mhm.
the way, I truly believe, and I think it's true, that human, like, growth is actually a human need itself as well.
Mhm.
And especially when it comes to the field of high performance, or high achievement, if you will, it's
Mhm.
really hard to uh, to go to those next levels and next steps continuously without a form of support. It doesn't always have to be a coach, but
Mhm.
the support, whatever that form is absolutely necessary. So
So true. And I think, when you really have a knowledge of who you are,
mhm.
you recognize that. I was just on a call before this interview, and if you're growing, for example, let's say you're going to run a marathon, you start off at point A, but during that journey, you're going to transform. So you're not going to be able to go back to point A because you've already been on this
Yep.
journey. So you're going to be ahead with that and you're going to continue to build. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
And then obviously, the another kind of the word that I use a lot, and I use this kind of hesitantly still, but it's a word of mastery. Like, how can we master ourselves,
Mhm.
or master our craft, or master our business, what have you? And to me, as you mentioned, that as well as growth are both lifelong journeys. It's And for
Mhm.
me, when I kind of realized that, what if in this race, what if we're running a race without the finish line? Like,
Mm.
all of a sudden it becomes more about the enjoyment of the craft, and just actually enjoying of getting better, and in whatever we're doing, that hey, there's always the next level, and that
So true.
itself to me is a driving force. I'm not really specifically trying to get to a end goal, if you will. Yes, I have
So
sort of,
true.
yes, I have milestones, and yes, I have things that I want to achieve, like we all do. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
I think we should. I think that's super healthy. But as we mentioned in the beginning, that the sort of non-attachment to the outcome, if you will, it's a
Mhm.
powerful idea, and especially when it's being put into practice. At least to me, that way I'm able to put a lot more energy and effort into the path itself and into
Mhm.
bettering myself and my craft. Like if it's my writing or my speaking or just showing up every day, as I mentioned, as a better father, as a better partner.
Mhm.
You know,
So true, because you have that greater intention. I know that I just really look at, we were just on this LinkedIn audio app
sure,
before
that's
we
true.
got here today. And, really being able to invest the time and intention into whatever it is that you're doing. And if you're sometimes so regimented about how you're going to accomplish this and that, you're not going to
Yeah.
even be able to recognize what lessons you're supposed to learn from that experience or even add value. So I totally get that. And a lot of times I was listening to John Maxwell the other day,
Mm,
and he said that he had a friend that he coached who was so disappointed every time he accomplished a goal. And he said, "Well, I think the problem is that you're goal oriented rather than growth oriented. So
yeah.
it's just as you said, if you have these milestones that you set and then that's it, you're going to constantly feel like you're starting at ground zero rather than believing from the very beginning that you're on a journey."
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I have a little story about that actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling the story also in my TEDx talk that I was fortunate to give here a couple of years ago,
Well,
which was,
congratulations.
yeah,
I
well, it
I
was
got a real celebrity here, didn't even know it.
well, it was a TEDx talk, not a TED talk yet. If it was a TED talk, then that would be a big one.
But you're getting there. You see what I'm saying? You got Ted in it, okay?
Yeah, exactly. The first three letters, and the X was a different one. But yeah. Anyways, it was so the title was "Why Lifestyle Matters More Than Happiness,"
Mm,
and it was slightly controversial title, but one of the stories that I'm telling that I'm hiking up this mountain face in Patagonia in southern Chile in South America,
mhm,
and I'm all by myself. It's like a 4 or 5 day hike, and it's just close to 6,000 meters. So what's that? Shy of 18,000 feet, probably. No, just a bit
mhm,
over 18,000 feet, somewhere up there. Anyway, I'm hiking up by myself, and I think it's a day 4, and I don't reach the summit. I got this sort of altitude sickness a little bit. I had to come back down to the camp
mm,
that I set up by myself, and then in that camp, the last camp, there was other people coming with me,
mhm,
and I meet them, and the next day we set off again, and we reached the summit, and it's like clear blue sky, amazing, beautiful views. And I'm on this summit after a quite a large achievement for myself, yet I felt empty. Like I felt emotionally
mm,
empty up there. Like I was thinking, like, oh, here I am. I achieved this thing, but I don't feel anything. And I'm trying to share this experience with the person that I just met. Like, wow, it's beautiful, this and that. And we're taking pictures, but
mhm,
like it just doesn't hit home. It just doesn't hit
mm,
home for me. And I'm like,
mhm,
wow, that's interesting. And why is that? And then I'm hiking. We start hiking down, and back to the village. It takes us like a day to like actually. I went by myself, so it took me a day to get back to the village. And on the way down, I'm just reflecting, and I'm stopping, and it's like, why is that? Like, what's happening? Like, why am I not enjoying that? Like, what was missing?
mhm,
And then I just realized, like, for me, the missing link was where the people was the connection, the emotional connection to
mm,
people and achievement. And I just realized that like I had been traveling that stage, like, I don't know, like that was pretty much one of the turning points of stopping the travel by myself and wanting to do things with people more.
mm,
I didn't enjoy achievements on my own as much anymore, and I was like,
mm.
okay, so that was a big one for me. And I mean, you don't have to go up to the mountaintop to figure these things out.
Right.
You can figure them out other way, but I think there needs to be a some kind of trigger, and when you push yourself, or something extremely positive or extremely negative happens, those seem to be the trigger points for a lot of us, that then you realize something internally, what you're missing, or what you've been lacking, or what you've been sort of pushing away or leaving aside, if you will. And I hope more people then would understand and take those lessons from those quote unquote opportunities that the life presents for us. So
So
yeah,
true. Yeah.
yeah,
And I totally resonate with that. And I think, and I don't know if that's just something with being an only child where, for a while you got, you were fine with doing those things on your own because you didn't know any different. But
hmm,
then when you get the opportunity to make connections and then that going back and forth, understanding that, it is great to have connections. I know when I learned that I didn't have to change who I was to have those connections. I didn't have to be the person that had all
yeah,
the answers.
yeah,
I could just really be me, whatever that looked like, whether I had technical difficulties or, had on the right outfit or whatever, then it became different for me. And I really appreciated that connection because, whatever you focus on grows,
yeah.
so if you like that positivity, I mean, it's only going to be that much more impactful the more people that have that same vibration.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I think you touch up something there that's super important for people to realize. And I think in the business world of what we call it personal branding these days. But for me,
Mhm.
it's personal identity and figuring
Mhm.
out who you actually are, and
Mhm.
what is that identity that you want to convey out into the world. Like there's
Mhm.
certain things, for example, that I'm very conscious about that I do not want to talk about on social media. I don't need to. I don't have any need to open up my sort of, you know, my emotional world, if you will, completely open up to others. Like I have spaces where I can do that, and I'm happy about that. I wanna set a certain type of message and certain type of image and identity, especially on the social media. And I think that's my choice, and I respect everybody's choice, especially how they want to behave in the social media. There's a lot
Mhm.
of these sort of buzzwords that we need to be authentic and be the most authentic self, and where that's true, I think it's at least to me it's not the only way to go about it. Let's put it that
Right.
way. So
I have really enjoyed this conversation. I'm like, man, I did not know that I was going to be having an interview with myself, okay? Because that's what it feels like. This is
uh-huh.
amazing. So,
Beautiful.
what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
Well, yeah, you mentioned LinkedIn. That's
Mhm.
my jam. That's where I do my thing almost daily. I show up daily. I don't post every single day, but I feel home there. I've been on other
Mhm.
platforms. I do have my own website as well, tuomocoaching.com.
Mhm.
I don't update that regularly, to be very honest. But that would be the LinkedIn would be the best space, and yeah, you see my content there and my articles and some videos and things like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, now what would be the one piece of advice that you would share with everybody regarding high performance that you can leave
Hmm.
us with? Just a teaser so they could be like, I need to get some more. Let me go follow up with what he's got going on.
Yeah, I wish I'm not a huge fan of hacks. I wish I had something like really amazing, something out of the left field, if you will.
Mhm.
But for me personally, what's been working the most, and I think what's happening in the world right now, uh, I would say it's doubling down on recovery. I know it's super simple,
Mm.
but doubling down on the recovery, especially look like, I'm in my early 40s right now. I'm realizing that when I push myself a little more, I'm not 22 anymore. Like I can't do the same
Mhm.
thing on the day after anymore. I have to really double down on hydration, sleep quality,
Mm.
especially, not just the quantity, and
Mhm.
just an overall recovery of spending quality time emotionally, mentally, and physically in recovery.
So true. Well, this has just been wonderful. And I look forward to us connecting again because I am just really intrigued. That's one of the things I love about interviews. You never know where the conversation is going to lead you, but this has just been such an enjoyable conversation. It is just really amazing to be able to hear from someone else's perspective and really resonate with a lot of the same philosophies and ideas. So and you're all the way from Finland, right? So
That's it.
that's just amazing.
Yeah.
I
I'm very
love
grateful. I appreciate you for this opportunity, and I knew that there's some kind of deeper connection that we share together because
hmm
that's always the case. So yeah,
Well, this is
I really appreciate it.
I am so excited. So hopefully we can collaborate again and have more conversations because this has just been awesome. And we want to thank all of you guys for watching today. And if anything resonates with you, reach out to Tumo. He is going to be on LinkedIn. That's where you can find him. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. And we definitely will make sure that he gets those and follows up with you. But in the meantime, we want to thank all of you guys for watching. Thank you for your time. And again, Tumo, thank you so much for yours today and all your insights that you shared.
Thank you. Likewise.
All right, you guys have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.